This is the podcast to improve your English listening skills while learning something new in English. Every episode, we bring you interesting topics in simple and clear English, so you can listen, learn, and grow. So, sit back, relax, and let's get started.
It's funny, isn't it, how something as basic as what we eat and drink, stuff we do every single day can be such a fantastic way to connect with other people.
Yeah, for sure. It's a global thing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone eats.
Exactly. It's a shared experience no matter where you are in the world. And what's super cool is that for this deep dive today, our sources are actually looking at food, this universal topic of food, as, get this, a way to learn English.
That's really interesting.
It is. So for all of you out there, especially those of you working on your English skills, it turns out that just chatting about, your favorite snacks or what you had for dinner last night can be a really awesome way to, build your vocabulary and start picking up on those little cultural things that make a big difference.
Absolutely. What we're going to see here is that this everyday thing, this need to eat, isn't just about, not starving. It's a surprisingly easy way to start learning a new language. We're not just talking about learning how to say apple, right? We're going to explore how talking about food helps you, say what you like and don't like, understand how other people see things, and even feel more comfortable in social situations.
Okay, I'm into this. So break it down for us. This deep dive, we're looking at a document called tentangmakanan.pdf, which, by the way, translates to about food. And we're going to walk away with some seriously useful tools. We'll see how just talking about food and drinks can help you learn new words, get more comfortable sharing what you think about different flavors, and get this, even weave your love of, say, pizza into how you introduce yourself. Plus, we'll pick up some really cool tips on how to make those food conversations even more fun and engaging. So it's all about unlocking a whole new way of communicating through, something we can all relate to.
Right. And if we think about the bigger picture here, learning a language isn't just about memorizing a bunch of grammar rules, right? It's about being able to have real conversations, conversations that actually mean something. And honestly, food is such an easy and relatable topic. Pretty much everyone has an opinion on food.
For sure. So let's start with the basics. The building blocks. Our source kicks things off with genus makanan, which means types of food. It covers the essentials: rice, meat, chicken, fish, veggies, fruits, bread, cheese. Pretty straightforward, right?
Seems like it.
But even here, there's a lot to think about. Take rice, for example. Think about all the different kinds of rice you find around the world, or how many ways there are to cook chicken.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And what's cool is how even these basic words can tell you a lot about a culture. Like rice. In so many cultures, it's the main food. It's got this long history, and there are tons of different ways to prepare it depending on where you are. So even a simple word can open up a window into a whole different culture.
That's so true. Okay, so next up we've got genus Numen, which means types of drinks. Again, pretty basic. Milk, coffee, tea, juice, smoothies, the essentials. But then our document throws in rasa makanan, which means the taste of food, and things get a lot more interesting because now we're talking about words like delicious, spicy, sweet, sour, salty, bitter, fresh, All those words that really help you paint a picture with your words, you know what I mean? You can say something like, this mango is so sweet and incredibly fresh, or this chili has a serious spicy kick. It just makes your language like come alive. What strikes you about these taste words?
You know, it's interesting. These words seem pretty universal, right? But how strong those tastes are, how people actually experience them, that can be really different depending on, where you're from or what you're used to. Like what one person thinks is spicy might be pretty mild to someone who grew up eating, I don't know, super spicy food. So using these words right often means understanding those little differences and maybe even like adding in some extra words to clarify.
Totally. So then our source introduces genus masakan, which means types of cuisine. And it gives us examples like Indonesian food, Japanese food, Italian, Chinese, French cuisine. It's at this point that you can really start to explore like the whole universe of food experiences just through language. Have you found that knowing these types of cuisine words helps you when you're, say, traveling or trying new foods?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's not just about being able to order food at a restaurant in a foreign country. Knowing these terms helps you appreciate different cultures on a deeper level. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
The food a culture develops is often connected to where they live, what they grow, and their social customs. For example, the fact that Japanese cuisine has so much seafood, well, that makes sense when you realize Japan is an island nation.
That's such a good point. So now that we've got some basic vocabulary down, the next part of our source dives into how to actually say what you think about food and drink, how to express your opinions. It's about going beyond just naming things and actually sharing what you personally like and dislike, what you think about different flavors.
Exactly. It's about taking those words we've learned and actually using them,
Yeah.
to talk about your own experiences and what you like.
So first up is menyatakan kesukaan terhadap makanan, which means expressing your liking for food. We're given some really helpful examples like, I love Indonesian food, especially rendang, and my favorite dish is sushi because it's fresh and delicious. These are like templates,
Right.
You can easily swap in your own favorite foods and use those descriptive words we talked about earlier.
What's key here? It's that little because in there. It gets you thinking about why you like a particular food, and that's what makes conversations more interesting. You're not just saying you like something, you're starting a conversation about it.
Right, it adds a layer of explanation. Then we have menjelaskan rasa makanan, explaining the taste of food. We get examples like, this pasta is so creamy and tasty, and the soup is a bit spicy, but I like it. Notice how those phrases give you so much more info than just saying, this pasta is good, or this soup is spicy. Adding creamy, tasty, and even that a bit makes a huge difference.
And that second example, the soup is a bit spicy, but I like it, is super interesting. It shows you how to express an opinion that's not just black and white,
Yeah.
You can acknowledge something that might not be for everyone while still saying you enjoy it. It opens up a conversation about how much spice people like and what their tastes are.
Totally. So then we have menanyakan pendapat tentang makanan, asking for opinions about food. These are your go-to questions to kick off a food chat. How does it taste? Oh, do you like spicy food? What's your favorite drink? They're straightforward, simple, and a really good way to get someone talking about their own experiences.
And they show that you're interested in what the other person thinks. You genuinely care about their experience. That's super important for connecting with people, whether you're talking about food or anything else.
And the last thing in this section is membandingkan makanan, comparing food. The examples we get are, I think pizza is better than burgers because it has more toppings, and Indonesian food is more flavorful than Western food. These kinds of statements can spark some pretty interesting discussions about different cuisines and what people look for in a meal. Of course, it's all subjective, right? But they're great conversation starters.
What's cool here is how those comparisons can tell you a lot about someone's background or their personal history with food. It's not really about one food being objectively better than another. It's about what the person values, what they've experienced and what they like.
Okay, so we've got the vocabulary and we know how to say what we think. Now, our source gives us a counter dialogue, an example dialogue, basically to show us how all of this comes together in a real conversation.
This is where we see how those words and phrases we've been talking about actually work in practice, like how a real conversation might go.
So person A starts off by asking, "What's your favorite food?" Straight to the point, right? And person B answers, "I really love sushi. It's fresh and tasty. How about you?" See how they didn't just say sushi? They used those descriptive words we were just talking about. And importantly, they turn the question back to person A, which keeps the conversation going.
Exactly. It's simple, but it works. You answer the question and then you invite the other person to share their thoughts too. It's a balanced back and forth.
Then person A says, "I prefer pasta, especially carbonara. It's creamy and delicious." Again, a clear preference in those descriptive words. And then B says, "That sounds great. Have you ever tried Indonesian food?" Smooth transition, right? They've taken the conversation beyond just their personal faves and open it up to a wider world of food.
And that's how conversation should flow.
Right.
You start with what you like, and that can lead to exploring all sorts of other cuisines and sharing new experiences.
And then person A says, "Yes, I tried nasi goreng and I loved it. It's a bit spicy, but very good." Here, they're sharing a specific experience with a different type of food, using those descriptive words again, a bit spicy, very good. They even acknowledge that the spice level might not be for everyone. It's a short but effective exchange. I mean, for our listeners, this is a great example of a natural flowing conversation about food.
And it shows how you can express both positive and slightly more complex opinions. It's not always about saying something is just good or bad. You can talk about different aspects of it and still give your overall impression.
All right, moving on. Our source gives us examples of kanto perkenalan diri dengan makanan favorite, basically. How to introduce yourself while mentioning your favorite foods. I think this is such a smart way to make those first interactions more fun and memorable.
Totally. It's way better than the usual, "Hi, I'm so-and-so and I do this." It adds some personality. It makes you more relatable right off the bat.
Okay, so there's a short and sweet example. "Hi, my name is Anna. I love trying different types of food. My favorite dish is sushi because it's fresh and delicious. I also enjoy drinking coffee every morning." It's brief, but it tells you something about Anna, gives you a glimpse into her interests.
And it uses simple sentences and vocabulary that we've already covered, so it's easy for language learners to adapt and use in their own introductions.
Then there's a slightly longer example. "Hello, my name is Daniel and I'm a big fan of food. I enjoy trying dishes from different countries. My favorite food is Indonesian cuisine, especially rendang because it's rich in flavor. I also love drinking iced coffee. What's your favorite food?" This one gives a bit more detail. It mentions a love of international cuisine and even gives a reason for liking rendang rich in flavor. And it ends with a question, which is a nice way to keep the conversation going. What do you think our listeners should take away from these examples?
I think the main takeaway is that talking about your food preferences when you introduce yourself makes you seem more approachable and gives people an easy way to start a conversation with you. It's a really simple but effective way to connect with people, to make that initial connection more personal.
Awesome. And lastly, our source gives us some tips. Agar percakapan tentang makanan lebih menarik, tips to make food conversations more interesting. The main tip is all about using interesting expressions. We get 2 examples. This burger is amazing, and this cake is too sweet for me. Now, those are way more expressive than just saying this burger is good or this cake isn't good, right?
Right. Using those kinds of exclamations, being more direct about how you feel, it just adds so much more personality. It makes you sound more genuine, like you're really reacting to the food.
Exactly. And for our listeners, it's worth thinking about what you say when you really love something or when something just isn't doing it for you. Practicing those phrases in English will make your food conversations so much more fun and lively.
And it encourages you to be more specific,
Yeah.
Instead of just saying not good, try saying too sweet or too salty or not spicy enough. It gives more information and can actually lead to a deeper conversation about how much sugar you like in your desserts or how much spice you can handle.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, I think we've seen that talking about food and drink is about way more than just what's on your plate. It's a really fun way to learn new English words, especially all those great descriptive words for tastes and textures. We've learned some useful phrases for saying what we think, asking others for their opinions, and even comparing different foods. We've seen how these conversations work in a real dialogue, and we've even learned how to make our introductions more memorable by mentioning our favorite foods. And finally, we've seen how using interesting expressions can make our conversations more engaging and show our enthusiasm, or maybe even a polite critique about what we're eating. It's pretty clear that even something as simple as food can be a goldmine for language learning and connecting with people.
Absolutely. And for those of you learning English, this is so valuable because you're going to talk about food all the time, right? Whether you're traveling, hanging out with friends, or even just chatting online. So getting good at this vocabulary and these conversational techniques is going to help you in so many real life situations.
Totally. So here's something to think about. We've seen how central food is to our lives. Family traditions, celebrations, even just going to the grocery store. What other everyday topics do you think might be hiding some surprisingly deep and interesting opportunities for learning and connection? I mean, not just learning English, but learning about the world and the people around you. Maybe it's talking about the weather, your commute to work, or even something as simple as your favorite color. Sometimes the most ordinary things can be the most fascinating if you look closely enough.
I love that. It's about finding those unexpected connections, those hidden depths in the everyday.
Exactly. And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.
Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe.